I'm unprepared and I don't have my folder open. Okay, are we ready to go?
Yeah.
Okay. So, call to order the Thursday, August 20th, 2020 meeting of the Ames Parks and Recreation Commission. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, this will be an electronic meeting. If you wish to provide input on any item, you may do so as a video participant by going to zoom.us/j/95033816272, and that link is also on the Parks and Recreation Commission website by clicking on our agenda. You may also view the meeting online at youtube.com, search for Ames Channel 12, and cityofames.org/channel 12, or by watching the meeting live on Mediacom Channel 12. Okay, I call to order. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from July 16th, 2020?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Okay, Sarah Litwiller makes a motion and Jeremy seconds. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of approval of the minutes from July 16th, 2020, please say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Seeing none, the motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the public forum. This is for any items that are not on the agenda. If there's any members of the public that are in the audience, Keith can see you.
There is nobody there.
Nobody's home. Okay.
Offense to that.
Seeing no items for the public forum, we'll go ahead and close public forum. Next item on the agenda is the staff report regarding the request from Story County Courts to waive rental fees for use of the City of Ames Auditorium.
Yeah. So with this one, just really wanted to just make you aware because the request did come to the Parks and Recreation Commission, and that was stated in the staff report. There is a statutory provision that says that counties need to provide space for the courts, and this request did come through. We did have a conversation. I did have a conversation with the assistant city manager who used to work for the county. She in turn had a conversation with Linda Merkin from the Story County Board of Supervisors, and Ms. Merkin did indicate that yes, she is aware that they need to provide space. So what we wound up doing basically is the Story County will be paying for the use of the auditorium. We are going to be reserving, the space, but what we are going to do, instead of sometimes what we'll do is we'll have a deposit. They'll have to pay for what they reserve. We'll work with them at times, but basically what we said is we'll reserve the time for you, but if it only takes a day instead of 2 days, or it takes a half a day, we'll just charge you for the hours, that you use, and they seem to be good with that aspect. So, and I did mention to them that the commission in the past has waived 10% of concessions and so on of gross sales, but generally does not waive rental fees. But so I think we're all good, and because the request did come to you, I just wanted to give you that background information. So any questions? No?
Are we making a decision?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. I just really, again, because the request came to the commission, I just wanted to make you aware of it and that basically staff has taken care of it before the meeting. Okay. All right. Next item.
I lost my agenda.
All right. The next one is a motion to approve or deny the agreement with Optum Health Care Solutions. So Kelly.
Actually, Nancy should be on and she's going to walk you through it.
All right, Nancy, you're it.
Let's unmute me. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, good. Okay, so we have been offering a program called Silver Sneakers. Most of you have heard of it since 2009. Goes through Humana Insurance, and that is where people who belong to a certain program in Humana can come use our facility. They can come to either Silver Sneakers classes or use the cardio weight room up to 12 visits a month, and we get reimbursed $3 a month for that. In 2017, another insurance company, American Specialty Health Fitness, otherwise known as Coventry, joined us as Silver and Fit with basically the same kind of setup. They could attend Silver Sneakers classes plus Zumba Gold and then use the weight room as well. Same reimbursement. And obviously these are becoming more and more popular with insurance companies. So we have now been contacted by a new program by United Healthcare. They decided to start their own program called Renew Active. Again, it would be the same setup. They would be reimbursing us $4 a visit for up to 8 visits a month. Again, attending Silver Sneakers classes exclusively or using the cardio weight room. This would be in addition to Humana and Coventry Insurance. They all just work together to offer these types of programs to their members. So we did send the agreement to the city attorney. They made a few changes, not very many was needed. And now we would like you to, of course, if number one, approve the fitness passport service agreement with Optum Health Care Solutions. Number 2 would be do not approve it. Or 3, refer back to staff. Any questions?
It's really a win-win for everybody. We are able to, with another insurance company doing a similar program, we're already offering it, and it just opens these programs up to more people, through their insurance, and we do get reimbursed even at a higher rate than the other two. So just a win-win for everybody.
Yep. Yeah, I don't have any questions. I don't think. Have there been many attendees in the last few months?
No. No, unfortunately. Well, up to COVID, we would get anywhere between 20 and 30 people in a class, and we would offer 2 times a week. So, of course, we plan our brochure quite a bit in advance. So I was looking at starting a new class this fall that kind of on Wednesdays. Our classes were Tuesdays and Thursdays. And it was a whole new component of it. We were going to get trained in it this summer. Of course, that didn't happen. But I do have faith that once COVID, settles down and that all gets figured out, people will return. They really like the program. They really love the classes.
Yeah, I've heard great things about the Silver Sneakers program in the past. So I don't, I hope that this is similarly successful once things calm down, as you say.
Right. Calm down. That's a good way to put it.
All right. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll motion that we approve alternative 1.
I'll second. Jacob.
Okay, so we have a motion from Jeremy to approve alternative 1, approve the fitness passport service agreement with Optum Health Care Solutions, LLC, and a second from Jacob. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of approving alternative 1, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Seeing none, the motion carries. Okay, thank you, Nancy.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Have fun. Bye.
All right, next item on the agenda is discussion on community gardens and food forests in the City of Ames.
So really 2 components to this. Like you said, the community gardens is one, food forest is the second one. It actually came from 2 motions from City Council, 2 separate motions. A while back, they had made a motion directing, they just wanted a memo from staff, regarding community gardens, and could we expand what we currently have, or could we add additional sites, throughout the community? And then I sent the memo to you that we did send to the council in July. When that went to the council, they did direct staff to come back in several months with more information regarding the community gardens. And with that, one of the things that they said is they really wanted staff to work with the Parks and Recreation Commission and get feedback, get information from residents, put together something, and then bring it back to council, for a final decision. So we're kind of kicking that off to tonight to have this conversation. Then what we'll do is we'll probably get some additional information based on what you tell us tonight. We'll come back in September and either finalize something in September or October, and then we'll take it to council after that. So that was the original direction. Since then, there was a letter from an individual in the community, just based on everything that's happening with COVID and unemployment and people struggling to find food. They thought that food forest would be something to consider. So they sent a letter to City Council. City Council, again, took action, made a motion to direct staff to have this conversation with the Parks and Recreation Commission and wrap it in with the community gardens and bring it all back at once. So that's why we're going to be sharing this information, tonight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a couple of screens with you. I'll start off with one. Everybody see that? Okay. So just as a real brief overview, right now we have 2 community garden spaces. But one at the top there is Squaw Creek Park, which is, where O'Neill Park is. This is South Maple. It would be the road to the left of that yellow box right there. But in that area, it's about 1.7 acres that we have set aside for community gardens. And how many gardens do we have there, Joshua?
Sorry, 63.
All right. So we have 63 gardens, and they are, various sizes. We have the spots kind of cordoned off. People reserve them. They pay a fee, to do it. Now that information was in that memo. So that's one of the locations that we have. The second location is down at Carr Park, and with that, you can see in the yellow box right there is we have raised beds, And this was this came out of information that we got back from gardeners. Hey, we love gardening. We just can't make the ones at the Squaw Creek Park. We just can't make it work. So it actually started off with, I think it was 4, right, Joshua? Four beds that was done through an Eagle Scout project, and then we've added additional beds, and you can see, and that goes really well. Now at Squaw Creek Park, we do have several water access points, so people can bring their hoses and water their plants and so on. Currently at Carr Park, we do not have water available. So people either bring their water, some people go down to the river and with buckets and grab stuff. But it is our intent at some point to add a water source down there. But you can see, if you just the area kind of between the sidewalk, the house to the south, and then the path that goes to the right, just that area is about 0.5 acres. So there would be some space to add some additional gardens there. So that's the first thing that we had mentioned. I will say at the Squaw Creek Park at 1.7 acres inside the yellow box, that will be, again, 63 is what Joshua said. As we go into some of these other locations, what we did is we took a look and tried to look at things that are owned by the city and not necessarily taking parkland away. That was one of the things that we looked at. What is out there that we could do to add some, and we also looked at different areas of town. So Harrison Road is right here. Right there. You can kind of see it. To the lower right of that picture would be Lloyd Kurtz Park and Bloomington Drive. So Harrison kind of goes into this dead end, the railroad tracks. It eventually, at one time, was supposed to cross the railroad tracks, but you can see that's not going to happen with all the houses that have been built on the other side of the tracks. So this area is 1.8 acres. So again, it could be used. It's very similar in size to Squaw Creek. So if you loaded it with gardens, depending on the size, you could again get 60 plus gardens in that space if you did nothing else with it. Another area that we looked at was between North Dakota and Delaware. So you can see that's where the old water plant was. Just off of Dakota, there's a substation right there, and just the open space is about 1 acre. So with it, you can still probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 35, maybe 40, depending again on size, how much jam you want to get into there. But you could add, some gardens. Again, that would be on the west side of town, and then we have the Cottonwood, right of way. So this is kind of in the southwest, and it would be west of Christopherson Park, west of Wessex. So it goes Wessex, Christopherson Park. There's a new development that we talked about at the last meeting, that's going to be happening. And this is further to the west. But again, this is just a little right of way. It's about 0.3 acres. Now, this one in the future, there is a plan. Don't know how far out it is, but ideally, Cottonwood Road would eventually go to the west and hook up with State Avenue. But that land to the west is Iowa State land. So not sure if that will ever get developed or if a road will go through there at some point. Just don't know. But those are the 3 areas that that we talked about. Now we could also, like I said, we could add in to Carr Park. So we really kind of have central with Squaw Creek. We have southwest with Cottonwood, west with off of Delaware, north with Harrison, and then east with Carr Park. So we would be kind of hitting a number of different areas. with what we currently have, and if we did something, here. So with that, thoughts just on community gardens.
I like it. I think it's a great idea. I think it's very beneficial and something new and different and exciting for the community.
Okay.
I totally think this is a great use for these sort of plots of land that are too tiny to be a park, but are still owned by the city and can be still a nice neighborhood amenity. Especially with the Harrison Road and the Delaware sites, there's a fair bit of multifamily housing in those areas. And I think that would, those residents don't necessarily have access to a yard to have a garden. And I think that would be a really great addition to those neighborhoods to serve those residents. So.
Yeah, that'd be a good use of land over off of North Dakota. That big open empty space.
I think there's two chunks over there. I think some of it is owned by a developer, the chunk further south. And then, yeah. So, I think the part you're thinking of, Jeremy, is a little further south, and that is.
No, it's the one that they've got.
Oh, you were. Okay. Then that's fine.
Yeah, no.
Because they were talking about townhomes or something in that space to the south of this.
Yep. No, I go by there all the time. Be a good place.
Right.
And speaking of just the car park, the raised beds, they still remain aesthetically appealing the 7 months of the year when there's not plants in them, because they still look really great. If we look at the Harrison right away, what about those times of the year? What do those residents think when it's just going to be tilled up dirt and there's some leftover fences and whatever else is just left there?
Yeah, I kind of had the same thoughts as Nathan. You go into those roadway right-of-ways and, you might not have some pleased neighbors perhaps. And, what is the plan for, keeping that clean and neat? I mean, a park's a park, but, you get that close to people's houses. You got to be kind of careful, I think.
So I guess what I'm hearing from both of you, Nathan and Jeremy, is that you would want us, before you make a decision or a recommendation to council, it sounds like we need to get some input from those neighbors, having some conversation, because they very well may say, you know what, Squaw Creek, we don't care if it looks like that. Otherwise, they may say, this is our neighborhood. We would rather have raised beds and crushed stone walkways, and it's going to look good year round. And they may come back and say, what would be great is a small playground, in there somewhere. So when we're gardening, the kids can play on a piece of play equipment. So, all right. So getting feedback from the neighbors is important, and aesthetics is what I was hearing from your.
Yeah, I think so. Just the roadway ones.
Yeah, I think, especially the Delaware, it does abut the sides of a couple houses, of a couple lots, but the Harrison Road one, that's going to be in a lot of people's, kind of in their backyards directly. So I think getting neighbor feedback is important there. And then
might be a little weird having just random people walking around your backyard gardening.
Yeah, and I don't know how many of those people have fences. And we, I think we kind of discovered with the Edwards project that over time, if people have encroached onto that right away and not realized it, that they may have strong feelings about the, where their property actually ends. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, but yeah, I think the Delaware site seems to be, kind of it's still in the neighborhood, but it's a little bit more separated than the other two sites. But I agree, regardless of the choices here, neighborhood outreach is good.
Hey Keith,
Yeah.
that's the Delaware site's in my neighborhood, or is in my neighborhood. And actually the site to the south is city land, Sarah. So it's that kind of V down there, and it's bigger. That patch where they took the water tower down has really kind of become the ad hoc park. And I think there's a group of parents that live in there that now have a lot of kids. They're looking possibly to come to us sometime soon and ask for playground equipment in there, because it really has become a park on this side of the busy street. So that's kind of an encapsulated area. And really, it's not so much the people right next to it, because you have the power grid right there, and then you have a bunch of college students on both sides. But as you head west into the neighborhoods, those are the folks that would be very concerned about just kind of taking all that green space away.
Yeah, no, that's good feedback.
Now, the other side of that is if you go south to that V on North Dakota and Delaware over there, the only people that really kind of use that is a bunch of dog walkers that let their dogs do their business there. I think that might be a little bit better choice if we were able to have a park and a garden in that area.
All right.
Yeah, my only immediate concern about there, I also live close, and so does Jeremy, is that is a little more sloped, so it would take a little bit more landscaping or doing, raised beds on like a sort of a slight terrace situation. So it might be a little bit more expensive than the northern parcel, which is a little flatter. But I agree, like both of those sites are appealing, just because you're right that there are a ton of families in that area. And I think having a play structure and or a garden in there would be really a nice asset for that area. So
yeah, you see probably on a daily basis, you see students out there playing catch, families having picnics, families doing things, people flying kites. Taking down that water tower has really opened up that space for people to use it. So it has been kind of neat to see that blossom a little bit, and not as many drunken debauchery kind of things going on in the neighborhood as you drive by. But
and I think of like Franklin Park. There's just sort of a very basic neighborhood park that has, a few picnic tables and a few grills, but it is kind of that. I think Franklin Park, honestly, I don't know, because it's so close to campus town, so I think you do risk vandalism, but Franklin Park might be an interesting place to put some raised beds too. But yeah. But I think Franklin Park is a good model for, a type of really basic park that we could put, between those two parcels out west. So
if the city's really interested in doing this, that stop sign and that road right there on that south parcel on South Dakota and Delaware is a nightmare. I mean, it's a horrible traffic flow in there. So if we were to go in there to that bigger parcel, they could actually probably kill two birds with one stone, fix the way the traffic goes in there, and having people constantly running up on the grass and taking out street signs, and then maybe getting a terrace type of bed in there.
So on that V, Dwayne, you're saying is that intersection is bad?
At the V, it's horrible. I mean, you got people driving up on the grass all the time there on the corner. because part of it is it's a hard turn to get in there and then you got to take a hard left off going your head north, and then another hard right, and you got people that pin you down into the curb as you're heading north.
Yeah.
Because when they're heading south on Delaware, they really don't go to the outside, and especially when there's snow. So this might be a win-win for everybody.
Yeah.
And I know the snowplows hate it.
What was that, Dwayne?
I know the snowplow guys hate it.
All right.
To wrap up, I really like the idea of community gardens, and I think people that utilize the South Maple beds probably do this year after year, because I've heard nothing but good things from the people I do know that have the plot. So I think it's really important we do expand this, because I think it's very valuable for our community, because people want a spot to go garden. So I would like to see this added, definitely.
All right. Anything else just in regards to gardens, and we'll get to, I'll go through some information with you in regards to the food forest, and then I may have some other questions for you on that. So get rid of that one, and we'll bring this one up. So just a food forest, the whole concept. And again, it's just now one thing I will say, when council did direct staff to have more conversation, with public in regards to this, they did recognize that if we were going to do a food forest, there has to be a group of volunteers that come forward and to help manage this, because there are other community gardens around the city of Ames that we have nothing to do with. People, they coordinate them, they organize them, they do a lot of aspects. But with a food forest, that's one of the things that council did say. They realized that a group would have to step forward, and obviously we have some names of some individuals that we'll start the contact with. But basically, the whole idea of a food forest is really trying to mimic what nature does. All right. That it's not so nice and neat and you have these little spaces. What you're really trying to do is put things in here and use all of the space. And it may look like a bit of a hodgepodge. It may not look very neat, but with this, as you can see with this diagram, the 7 layers. So layer 1 is kind of that canopy, but it's going to be your large fruit and nut trees. It's going to be things that will be taller, it will be up higher, and that's what you're going to get from. That's kind of that first layer of food. So everything within a food forest could be eaten. Is really what you're trying to accomplish. Then the second layer, you can see, lower tree layer is really like your dwarf fruit trees. It's going to be some different types of things that you're going to get, from that. But then you have your third layer is even shorter, is, that shrub layer, currants, berries, other things. So you're really going to get a wide variety of things. Number 4, the herbaceous layer. And this is really, you're going to have, your herbs, you might have some forbs, you might have some other things that are going to kind of be in that area that will grow in different patches. 5, root vegetables. And you can see, carrots and some of those other things, that grow underground. 6, you have, the ground cover, and it's, clover, strawberry, mushrooms, just a wide variety. And then the 7th layer are your climbers and vines, that will, again, they show it up here on the tree trunks and so on. So the whole idea of a food forest is that you have these different layers and you have some different components and they provide different things, but pretty much everything in there is edible. Now, I do have a little thing down at the bottom, and you can see that, all the plants that work together benefit each other, kind of like that natural ecosystem. And then the wildlife, obviously with eating and the edible plant species deposit seeds from other areas. They've been eating that, so it really kind of continues to perpetuate itself. So you don't have to maybe do as much, with it. But again, it will take some work. Obviously, when you look at this canopy, you can't just come in like Jeremy wants that 100-foot tall tree in his front yard to replace an ash. They take time. So if it's something, this would be a commitment to get things started, but it would take years to really get to its full potential. So this is the idea of a food forest. Now, I'm not sure that one of those areas that we identified for community gardens, would be a good location for a food forest. We may have to take a look and say, and Joshua and I have not sat down and had this conversation in regards to the park system, but maybe there is an area, that we could do something, like this. Maybe there's a Squaw Creek. Maybe we'd have to take some trees down, create an area, and then that might be a good area to do this. It might be one of our other parks. Maybe East River Valley might be a good area to do something, like this. So any questions? And I am by no means an expert. None of us are on the whole food forest. We've had conversations about them in the past as staff, but so what are your thoughts on this one?
So I've been around long enough. I remember some of these conversations that started through a student group that was interested in a food forest, but there was not a ton of commitment from this student group to see it through. So from my perspective, if there is a committed group of volunteers, some of whom plan to live in Ames for the next 5 or 10 years, then I think it is something to consider seriously. Regarding the wildlife eat the fruit that have fallen on the ground and distribute the seeds, the sites that we've discussed, especially like the Harrison Road and the Delaware site. Like Harrison Road's right next to a railroad track. The Delaware site's right next to a very busy street. So the question I have with either of those sites is, do you want to be encouraging wildlife in those locations? So that's something to think about. Or, like you say, with the South Squaw area, which is a little bit more wooded, a little bit more removed from a high traffic area and closer to a larger wooded area, that may be a better contender in my mind. So yeah, I think you're totally correct on having a larger volunteer group that would be planning this and fundraising for fruit trees and maintaining some sort of maintenance structure over the several years it's going to take to sort of get this going. Plus choosing a site that is probably not near a major road.
Yeah, one thing that I read about food forests too is that you really have to take a look at what's there right now and really kind of build off of that because in one article that I read, the person, talked about, I tried to get a cherry tree growing in my yard and I couldn't. But, just not very far, the wild cherry trees were growing always. And it just, the soil type. But that's what I really said, try to take a look at what's already there and see if you can build on that. I know up at Ada Hayden, we have some, there's some wild cherry trees, isn't there, Joshua? Or some cherry trees, maybe not fruit producing cherry trees.
Yeah, they're choke cherry trees, which is like a native tree, but they're tell you the truth, I've never seen a cherry on them. So
yeah.
To eat.
Yeah. So that's one of the things that, and that's I think goes to your comment, Sarah, is there has to be a group that really helps with the planning aspect and looking at some of those concepts if we were to do this.
Yeah, to your comment about soil quality, especially if you're doing raised beds in other parts of the city, like it's very easy to create a good quality soil from scratch, and people can add compost over the years. Whereas if you're having a large plot of land to amend that soil in a large area is going to be very labor intensive and very expensive, depending on how many amendments you have to do to get them ready for fruit trees or other permaculture type projects. So, and that's not to say like we couldn't have some permaculture discussions in a community garden sense, that I think that might be more interesting to explore than the food forest, which feels like a big decades long project, whereas exploring some permaculture options that could be shared, the harvest of that could be shared, or it could be donated to Food at First or whatever in the community gardens areas, like that might be a better place to start. But it just depends what people have the time and the passion for. So.
Right.
I think I would definitely go with Sarah on this one. This is going to be a very management intensive 20-year project that for the first 18 years is going to look like a weed bed. I don't think it's going to be, I think it could happen when you look at like the private garden at Ridgewood and 13th. This is very much their model and it works really well. But I mean, there's constant labor involved. And even with as much manpower as they have, is still just a bunch of weeds all the time. So I think it could work, but I don't see someone stepping up for the next 20 years to take care of this. But maybe there is,
Yeah, I think that's what we have to, reach out and start talking to people and see what that interest and what type of commitment, they would have for it. Because right now, we just don't have the manpower to manage something like this. And I think council understood that, and that's why they made, the comment that a group has to step forward.
Okay. Any other discussion on either community gardens or food forest? Are you you're just getting ideas from us, Keith, here? You don't need us to make a motion or anything at this time?
No, I just wanted to start, getting the conversation going. And I guess the question that I would have for the commission is what do you need? So you talked about neighborhood input, maybe getting some a little bit more of a plan for the food forest. We would have to identify some locations where we think this might work. Make some contact, see if there is interest. So is there anything else, that the commission would need, be looking for, that we could bring back to help aid you in making a recommendation to council?
I personally really like the raised beds, and I've seen a lot of really nice ones now that are built with like the corrugated metal sheeting and then a wooden frame that seem to be a little bit more robust in terms of lasting through the winters. And I guess, I think they look a little nicer, but they also offer better accessibility for mobility limited people or older people, me, and I can't lean over, so what, how much would something like that add to a project cost, and would it be something where we would be looking to partner with some volunteer groups to help source and build those raised beds? Is, I guess, another question I have. So,
Keith, one of the things I think would be helpful for me is we're putting in a couple of these places, we're putting a community garden where there's homes with large yards that probably can have their own gardens. And I think what really works, Nathan mentioned the one over on 13th that they have that shared, is those people do not have backyards. They don't even have front yards in some cases. So I'd kind of like to get the idea of what the city council is really looking to do, and has a group come forward and say we'd really like this in our neighborhood, because I know we had the one over there just by Fairway that kind of has their ideas on what they want to do with their park, and so we do have neighborhoods that are coming in and asking for these kind of things. But really, at Harrison Road, those houses have large yards. Our neighborhood, most of the houses have large yards. There's some students in there, but are students really going to take care of them, year after year? Like, what are they looking for? So that kind of ferreting out process to see really what are we trying to do here, other than just put a garden somewhere where it may just unfortunately turn into a wheat patch.
Yep. Nope, that's good. We can get that information. Yep. Anything else so cost, partnerships, what Dwayne just mentioned, raised bed options, other things. Well, we would need, like I mentioned, locations. They refine, that kind of ties into what you just said a little bit, Dwayne. But food forest for sure, we'd have to come up with some locations. Anything else that would help you make a recommendation? Other than what you've already shared? No? All right, can you think of anything, Joshua, Kelly, that maybe hasn't been mentioned during either of these?
No, I would echo Dwayne's comments. What is council trying to get through this? Looking at our waiting list, is less than 10 people that are looking for community garden space currently right now. So we're not getting a bunch of people, and maybe there's people that don't know that we have community gardens, but the people that do, the waiting list is small.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a thing. I've participated in community gardens before, and if you live in West Ames and your plot is in Carr Park, or your only option for a plot is in Carr Park, you're not, it's a long way to get over there when you have to water things twice a week or whatever, and so I think it's something where if you make it available, and that's the nice thing about raised beds especially, and not being a huge plot of land is like you can be sort of modular like you were in Car Park and start off with, you know, a dozen raised beds and see how popular they are, and you can always add more if they're very popular, and they can go away if they're not popular. So but I think whereas a food forest is like, that's a commitment. It's harder to you know, relocate that. So.
Yeah.
You know, Keith, just one comment, and I don't think that maybe this is not a big deal, but we currently have a city ordinance that doesn't allow foraging in the park system. So we'd obviously have to describe a prescriptive ordinance just for this area if we did do a food forest.
I apologize to all those black raspberries I've picked in Car Park this summer. So.
We'll talk after the meeting.
Okay. Oh boy. Now I'm in trouble.
No, that's good. Good comment. All right. Anything else? No, that's helpful.
Right.
We will start working on this and see what we can bring you for an update in September.
All right. Next item on the agenda is a motion to hold the Parks and Rec Commission September meeting virtually or in person. Do we want to make a motion and then discuss, or do people want to discuss and then make a motion? I'll start. I'm in favor of virtual still, so.
Do we have a ribbon cutting on the 17th?
No.
We had one this month on the 17th, on Monday.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we don't.
Oh, it's the 24th. Okay.
Oh. Oh no.
Virtual works.
Yeah, I'm still in favor of virtual, I think.
Let's do it.
Okay, would someone like to make a motion regarding the
I'll motion
September
that we hold
meeting?
our September meeting online.
Second.
Okay, motion from Jeremy and a second from Dwayne or Jacob. I wasn't sure. Dwayne. Okay. Any further discussion? All right. All in favor of holding the September Parks and Recreation Commission via Zoom, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. All right. Seeing none, the motion carries. Next item on the agenda is an update on Parks and Recreation operations due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yeah. So just not a lot new since July. We're experiencing some of the same types of things. Not getting a lot of people ready to come indoors yet. Weight room, cardio room, not a lot of people utilizing the space. We do have some open gym where you can reserve a hoop, and we have some people that come in pretty consistently to utilize that. Our fitness classes, just in July, we offered indoor classes and outdoor classes. 100% of our outdoor classes went. Only 20% of our classes indoor went. So only 1 in 5. So actually for August, Nancy is kind of moving more towards a monthly schedule right now. So for August, she offered more outdoor classes and so on. Again, a lot of those classes are happening. with it. At the ice arena, we have started offering some open skates, some public skates, and we're getting people. They have to register, give us their skate size. We've done some things. Kelly and Taylor have done a nice job of putting processes in place to make that work really well. And we are getting some people, maybe 8, 10, maybe 15. I don't think we've had any more than that. Kelly can help me out there if we have had more. But again, it's giving some people some options. But again, they're just not flocking indoors yet, and we'll have to see. We have some groups at the ice arena that are not going to be holding or have reduced their amount of ice time for the fall and the winter, and they'll reassess come January, but all those things are weighing on us, on our department. And I kind of mentioned that last month, that we generally bring in about $2.5 million in revenue, and if things continue, I'm not sure that we'll get to $1 million. And that's a big for one department. That's a big revenue loss, and it has a big impact on what we do. And again, we still have full-time staff out mowing and helping in the park system. And we'll get to storm damage here in a little bit, or an update on that. But we continually doing what we can, and not hiring staff, temporary staff, and so on, just so we can keep full-time people working. But again, as we go into the budget process, we'll see and have a better feel of where we're at for the city and as a department, and we'll get some direction from the city manager's office in regards to what we may need to do further. I'm not going to rehash all the things that I kind of went through with you last year or last month in regards to doing some cutting and things, but that's kind of where we're at. I don't know, Kelly or Joshua, anything to add to that?
No.
And any questions from commissioners regarding? So, all right.
Next item on the agenda is an update on the August 10th storm and recovery efforts.
Yep. So, have any of you ever seen something like that? That was crazy.
I was remembering, so it was 10 years ago, and we had a straight line winds storm, but I think it was much more limited area, but in Ames, and we had a big tree branch on our roof there, and then three weeks later or whatever, the town flooded. So I was remembering that summer last week, but it was crazy. So
yeah, it just was crazy. We were out here at our office, and as dark as it got, and we had trees come down in the park, this park, debris everywhere. And the park system as a whole, if you've been driving around, if you've been going into any of the parks, we took a hit. The whole city, took a hit. Thankfully, the thing, we did not have any of our amenities really get damaged. We didn't lose any shelters. We didn't lose any restrooms. Maybe some fencing, here and there. Maybe some minor things, but. I was over in Nevada last week, and they actually had a tree come down on one of their shelters and just took the whole shelter down, just basically collapsed it. And I know there was people in other communities that have that. So what we are doing is actually last week after Monday, once the storm came through, our staff, Joshua spent a lot of time out there, and I'll get to Kelly and the rest of our staff in a minute. But our park staff, really, they came out on Monday, and basically all we did was help clear streets, and that's what a lot of it was. and we had to do some of that on Tuesday. And then it was helping electric crews, clear things, and staff going in and saying, all right, somebody from electric would say, this line is dead, and we would clear, from electric lines, trees or limbs, and so on. So public works crews, our crews, did a lot of that. And then we started moving to just safety issues, hangers, on the trees, trees that just aren't safe. And it's every day, somebody goes down the street and finds something else, that we're having to do. A tree, I think it was on Monday or Tuesday, we had to take a tree down because it just wasn't safe. If we get another wind or a storm come through, potentially that tree could have fell on a house, people, on cars, and so on. So as of this morning, we had identified about 80 some trees just in the right of way hangers that need to be taken down because they pose a safety risk. That's the hangers that our crews can get to because of the size of equipment that we have. And we have another 70 some trees as of this morning that we're having to have contractors go and get the hangers out because they're too high for our equipment. And then just in the park system itself, we contracted with a crew out of Kansas City last week because Paul Tauke, our forester, identified 18 trees in Brookside, Stuart Smith, and I think Country Gables. Those three parks, just 18 trees in those three parks that we needed to address because they're safety concerns. And in some of those cases, we just had crews coming in and dropping the safety aspect, making the tree safe, and we'll come in at another time to clean up all of the debris. So that's really what we're focusing on. We have, just with our staff right now, there's 2 trees and bucket trucks trying to get to those hangers. We have another crew that's been going around and just trying to start getting into the parks and cleaning up and shipping, some of the things. But this is going to take a long time. Just even last Tuesday and Wednesday, we had Kelly and then Jill Bird, our aquatics manager. They went through and visited all the parks just to try to identify as best they could, what damage do we see in the parks? Are there safety issues? Are there hazard trees? So they tried to get some of that information, and then we gave that to our forester to at least give him an idea of where he needed to start looking and identifying what needs to be done next. Some of the other things that our staff has been very involved with, and every one of our staff members, Kelly, Jill, Ben, Nate, Nancy, on the recreation side, spent a lot of time going around door to door, hanging flyers, talking to people, maybe manning information centers, just doing whatever we could. We have our support staff, Kelly, or Val, and Katie down at the community center. They're taking calls in regards to debris and debris pickup, and we've given out that number to just take calls, and they've been sharing information. With hangers, we've been giving out the cemetery number, and Joe over there has been collecting that information, putting it in a spreadsheet and sharing that with the forester. We're really trying to get people to call those numbers, and then also with C-Click-Fix, which is an online reporting system. So that's kind of what our staff has been doing, and I don't think there's been one staff person out of our 25 full-time staff that hasn't been busy helping with some aspect of the storm cleanup and information sharing and so on over these past 10 days. And And that's on top of trying to get a restroom ribbon cutting on Monday and a stone ribbon cutting on Saturday and get ready for the Sunset Ridge Park ribbon cutting and all the other things that we have to continue doing. So hats off to all of our staff for what they've done over the last 10 days. So Joshua, Kelly, anything to add? Did I miss anything?
Yeah, thanks, Keith. Not only just our staff, but all the city staff. I mean, it's been everybody on the ground, from inspections to purchasing to finance individuals to legal staff. I mean, everybody has been out, boots on the ground, trying to communicate information, and it's really neat. We live in a special city, and we have a special group of individuals that really, for lack of a better term, love customer service, and whether it's good or bad. And but they take the good and the bad, and they do the best that they can. That's the thing that it just astounds me, just the effort and the amount of people in our city that just care. So.
Okay, and then we didn't even touch on the residents, helping one another, helping drag debris, helping cut things, helping preserve food, sharing generators, on and on and on. But yeah, very, the city manager on Monday said, last Monday after the storm, made the comment saying we never have not had power on within 24 hours. When we've had an outage, we've had power on within 24 hours. But at our office, all the residents, they had power as of Tuesday. I think everybody was on. So as of Wednesday morning, everybody was on. We didn't get power at our office here until today. There were a couple of things that needed to happen, with it. But again, we can all go and work elsewhere, and that's what we did. Getting the residents back on was more important than us getting back on. So, Kelly, anything to add? No?
I think you guys covered it. I mean, everybody was doing whatever they could to help out and do the best we could, and met a lot of people when out and about. And I mean, they were very, very appreciative, most people, of the city's effort. So that was cool.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I think we are all spoiled in Ames by our awesome utilities, and I think the city thought we would, meet that standard of having everyone back online in a day or two. And once it became apparent how widespread and how complex a lot of the damage was, I think the first few days were tough because I think everyone was like, oh, we'll get back online. But once everyone realized this is a really complicated situation, I think the messaging was really good. I think a lot more people came together and, got it figured out. And just everyone at the city dropped everything to respond in some way, whether it's through information or, physically assisting with the storm. So, I mean, it was just really a Herculean effort for everyone at the city. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I would just again encourage anybody listening, if you're in the park system, if there are trees down, just try to keep the kids away from them, and not climbing and all that kind of stuff, and just understand that it's going to take weeks for us to get in and get everything cleaned up. It's just going to take a long time.
Okay. Any other discussion on that? Next item on the agenda is upcoming events.
Yeah, so just some reminders. I gave you information last month. So we're still on track for burning Homewood Clubhouse tomorrow. and the fire department is going to do that and use it as a training tool and so on. So that's gonna happen, and I'm going to guess that we might have Channel 12 out there doing a little video, and we'll get some of that maybe on Facebook Live or something. But that's Friday. Then Saturday at 4:00, we are going to be unveiling new Faces in the Stone up at Ada Hayden Heritage Park, and that's Irv Kloss. So that's going to be at 4:00, and that we'll have that on our YouTube channel, and also there will be Facebook Live as well. All of these events will be Facebook Live. Not doing any seating, there aren't any refreshments, so on. But if you do want to come out for that one, it's on the Upland Trail off of Hyde. So we do have the Hyde parking lot, which is along on the northwest corner off of Hyde Avenue. And that's where you would need to park, or you could park in the lower parking lot and walk up the Upland Trail to get to that as well. So that's 4:00 on Saturday. Then Sunday, the 23rd at 5:00, we'll be dedicating, then doing a ribbon cutting for Sunset Ridge Park, which is at 325 Wilder. It's on the north side of Lincoln Way, west of the Dakota Avenues. So that'll be a neat thing. And again, with that one, that started with Ed Knight, who was the POA president at the time, Property Owners Association president, coming to the Parks and Recreation Commission and saying, hey, could we get a park in our neighborhood? And this is the fruition of him asking the question and commission saying, yes, we think that's a good idea, and city council allocating funding, and then working with the Property Owners Association to do fundraising and design and all those things. So that'll be 5:00 on Sunday. And then next week, Friday, the 28th, August 28th, we will be having a groundbreaking for the Homewood Golf Course Clubhouse. So that'll be 5:00 on the 28th at Homewood. So number of events, and with everything that's going on with COVID and the storm and everything, these are just some positive events that we can share with the community. So you can make it, come out, but at a minimum, check us out on Facebook Live and YouTube. Those are the only events, right, Joshua and Kelly, that we have before our next meeting?
Yeah, I think the Miracle Park was discussed for some time in September, but you don't know. I mean, that may be pushed back a little bit.
Yeah. And once I get that date, and I know just over these last 10 days, I haven't been able to keep up on email. So there may be something out there. But once I get that, I'll get that date to you.
Okay. Project. Any additional project updates? The next item on the agenda.
Joshua, you want to share anything on any projects that we haven't talked about? Maybe the Lowhead Dam?
Yeah, I visited the Lowhead Dam yesterday. They're basically most of, if not all of the channel work is done, and they've actually started removing dirt from the bank and starting that dirt work. So I don't have a time frame yet. Like Keith, I haven't been able to check. Well, I haven't kept up on my email as well, but I will have a follow-up here hopefully tomorrow and see where they're at and see what the schedule is. But yeah, it looks different. Looks different after they start removing dirt. So.
And again, with that one, we're thinking we probably won't do a ribbon cutting with that one until the springtime.
Okay. Monthly report.
The only thing I would add that wasn't in the monthly report is, with us not sending out the fall winter brochure, we are starting to get some fall programs planned. And we'll be sending those out via email, constant contact, and also posted to our Facebook page. I believe we have an adult golf lesson session starting Monday, and then we'll have another fall session. We also added another session of tennis lessons. So just be on the lookout for emails and checking our Facebook page or www.amesparkrec.org for fall programs, swimming lessons, those kind of things.
Okay. Thanks, Kelly.
And I don't have anything additional to the monthly report. What's already in there.
Okay. Next item is commission member comments. Does anyone have any things to say? We at the Brookside ribbon cutting, a couple of council members pointed out that there are the former window cutouts in the side of the building. I think there's 2 on one side and 3 on the other side. I don't remember if there are any on the back. But anyway, we were discussing that would be a cool collaboration with the Public Arts Commission. And so I guess I don't know how we would go about starting that process to get some, either a sculpture or a mural in some of those spaces. But that was something that we discussed as being an addition to the new restroom. So, because we gotta spiff it up for Jeremy. So.
And one of the things that was talked about too is maybe working with the Historical Society in getting some pictures. There used to be a zoo there, and there's other things. Could we find some of those pictures and have something like that in those spots to give just kind of some a little history lesson, I guess, of what the park had been used for. So in answer to your question, Sarah, if that's something that you want staff to do, if somebody could make a motion, direct staff to work with the Public Arts Commission and the Historical Society to come up with ideas, and if you want us to bring them back to you, just make that part of your motion.
Okay. I can make the motion since I was there. I move to direct staff to discuss options for some sort of display or signage or mural in the old window cutouts at the new Brookside restroom, and to bring a report back to us on how we can move forward with that either next month or in October.
Yeah, let's go October.
That's fine. I know. Yeah, you guys aren't busy at all, right?
Or maybe even better, just say at a future meeting and
that at a future meeting is fine. That'll be a good thing to talk about this winter, because I can't imagine we would move forward with it until the spring anyway. So
correct.
Okay. Any other commissioner comments?
Well, so you made the motion. Did anybody second?
Oh,
I'll second.
Jeremy seconds. All in favor of directing staff to report back at a future meeting regarding discussions with the Public Arts Commission and the Ames Historical Society for some sort of artwork or display on the Brookside restrooms, please say aye.
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 Aye. All opposed, same sign. Okay, seeing none, the motion carries. Okay. Any other commissioner comments? Now that we have passed my own motion. No. Keith, you'll be proud of me. I did set up my tent in the yard. We didn't sleep out there though, but we had to see how the waterproofing was. So.
for the camp out.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had our tent set up, and
yeah.
I only got my daughter was the only one that would sleep out there with me.
Yeah.
But we
awesome.
did our got our pie irons out. We had a fire. Our neighbors thought we were crazy for having a fire when it's 100 degrees out, but it was good.
Well, we basically camped out on our porch all of last week. So every night with our little lantern and our headlamp. So, you know.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, thank you all for working so hard this last week. It's just been relentless. So, all right. If there are no other commissioner comments, our next meeting will be Thursday, September 17th at 4 p.m. and it will be on Zoom. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I will motion to adjourn.
Meeting is adjourned.